Hey there, Dr. Alan Christensen here. I'm really excited to talk to you about stress management. So that's the word I'm supposed to use, right? When you manage something, it kind of gives you a sense about it always being there. And I don't know, I think that a different mindset is appropriate. So how about not managing, but how about like really thriving? And how about really letting it propel you and move you further? You know, it can be a positive thing to be excited and enthusiastic and maybe a little bit nervous about being outside your comfort zone. That's where we really grow. So one concept is realizing that stress can be given or stress can be chosen. And if all you've got is given stress, you know, the one that kind of comes to you blindly, the deadlines, the pressures, whatever else, that can be a real grind. You know, the constant interruptions, the electronic devices, those things can really wear us thin. So one trick, one mindset is to have chosen stressors, you know, things that really matter to you. And for some, this can be causes, you know, for some political, environmental, or social. This could be also goals relative to loved ones, you know, family members and things you want to see for them. Maybe goals for yourself in terms of your health, your economic state, your education. If you've got some big chosen stressors, they feel very differently than the given stressors and how they respond. And our body has different effects on them as well. Sometimes they can actually bring us to a better place and give us more resiliency. The trick is that stress is kind of like exercise. You know, it's a challenge. And if that challenge is not something you want, or if it's way too intense, you will suffer. Unfortunately, your health will decline and your vitality will go down. But if a challenge is somehow chosen and somehow intentional, and you can control the intensity of it to where it matches your capacity, to where it expands your capabilities but does not overwhelm you, that's where growth comes from. So there's types of it that are really good. And rather than worry about how do I avoid stress, think more about how can I create stress? How can I create really cool, great stress in moving towards things that matter to me? And in doing so, you know, take some time and think hard about what does matter to you. You know, I think oftentimes from the more day-to-day type stress, distractive type things, we might lose touch with what's important. And I would encourage you to build some daily rituals around staying in touch with what does matter. And maybe a starting place is identifying what that is. You know, take some quiet time in a setting that's very peaceful and comfortable for you, and do some writing about what are some things that have really made you happy, are very important to you, things you'd like to see more of, and be crystal clear on how you can engage more of your time in moving towards those goals. You know, we're often taught that we get away from stress by having distractions, by watching television, seeing movies, and the science very clearly says that that's not true. And when you measure someone's brain, you measure their cortisol, you measure their blood chemistry, when they're in states of distraction, they're actually more stressed. They're actually not really healing or doing better. They're just distracted. And they're going back into a world that's no better than what they left behind. So one big trick is creating and building your stressors and focusing on those. Another trick is really having some rituals and some rhythms, having some habits that work to move you to a state of repair and relaxation. And, you know, so much of our world came from the model of factories. You know, the pace of our life and the nature of it came about during the Industrial Revolution. And much of it was designed for us to be good little cogs in the factory and work hard at the assembly line. And it was not really meant to create fulfilling, happy, joyful lives for us. It was made for us to be productive. And we have to realize that if we live lives by default, if we kind of go along with the system that we're given, we will be productive and useful to that system. But what about for us? And what about for our needs? So we've got to really grab the reins back and say, hey, what matters to you and what are your big goals? And in doing so, how can you structure your day to make sure that those important things happen and to make sure that you are in a state of resiliency and repair and happiness? And in taking control of your day, add in a couple of rituals. Here's one of the easiest ones. It's one of my favorite. You just alternate between which nostril you breathe through. And it's actually that easy. The full explanation is take about 5 minutes in the morning, sit down somewhere comfortable. And if you are a yogini or a yoga with great flexibility, do a lotus pose. Sit in a chair, that works fine too. But have your spine straight, be comfortable, and just control your nostrils. Breathe in through your left nostril, hold your breath, breathe out through your right nostril. Right, hold, left. That's the whole sequence. You want to time it so each of those steps is about the same length of time. 1 Mississippi, 1 Mississippi, 1 Mississippi. You can listen to your heartbeat. You can listen to a clock. You could say an important phrase to you, but find some way just to get timing. And 5 minutes of just doing that flow, you can radically reset the whole physiology of the stress response. And the funny thing we're learning is that our psychology affects our physiology. So if we're down and out and despaired, we hold ourselves in a certain way. And if we're happy and joyful and confident and lit up, we hold ourselves in another way. So the mind affects the body. But the cool trick we're learning now is, well, the body affects the mind. So even if you're not feeling great, but you do something that resets your nervous system, you shift the psychology. You shift your brain in measurable ways. Here's one more of my favorite tricks, and this is an easy one, and it's so powerful. So we all know that we need to move more and exercise, right? And we hear about the big benefits of meditation. But we're busy. Time is compressed and days are often short, and people have a hard time doing the things they are already trying to do. So how do you work all that stuff in together? Meditation is some way to have your mind go into a groove that takes away some of the background noise and frees up your creativity and your real capacity to heal yourself. And a lot of ways work for that. One of the easiest ones is counting. So you can go for a walk and you can count your steps. And it can be that simple to get the benefits of exercise and the benefits of meditation. Lots of research has shown that pretty powerful things happen to our health when we exceed somewhere around 10,000 steps per day. Now that takes about 40 to 60 minutes for most people, but what I would encourage, if you're not already physically active or meditating, plan for 1,000 steps. You can do that in 10, 15 minutes. And the game you can play is try to count the whole time through. It's very normal that somewhere along the way, all of a sudden you've got, oh, wait a minute, I've got to pick up the kids, and there was this thing, this errand, and oh, I got this call. What number was I on? No worries, just start over. Start off at 1. And find yourself a little loop around the neighborhood. Even a treadmill can work, but just find a place you like to be and plan on a certain time frame. And the goal is that as you get the hang of this, you will be able to maintain an unbroken count all the way through. Even if you've been totally distracted and have a hard time focusing, it will get easier. And you can easily chart your progress. Make a little note about, wow, I made it to 200 today. And soon you'll be getting your count steady all the way through. And all you're doing is walking. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the whole complexity. The beautiful thing we've learned from using methods of science to see the benefits of traditional practices is that the important parts of those practices to get the big benefits are not complicated. So try some walking meditation if you're not already. That can be one of the most powerful ways to reduce and manage and transform stress and to convert it. And along those same lines, remember to keep your big vision, your big focus, your chosen stresses in mind at all times. Wake up in the day and maybe write about what those are and what you want to see happen and how you want to really focus your time to achieve those big chosen stressors. So don't make it the enemy. Don't try to manage stress. Go ahead and transform it. Go ahead and choose it. Go ahead and take it as a source of power for you. Dr. Christensen here. Reset your health, reset your life. I'd be happy to show you how. Take good care.